Salvation is a spiritual reality that shapes our physical reality. He is proclaiming that because of Jesus, our relationship with God the Father is restored. And as a result, that restoration is working itself out in the relationships around us. The salvation that we are invited to participate in is communal. It's relational. It is good news that redefines our entire lives, especially the way we exist in the world with others around us. Now, friends, this would have been a profound reality for the Gentiles, to be included in this way. But for the Jews, this would have been disruptive, because this is not Museo taking over Starbucks. The Gentiles were not required to start eating kosher and follow the rabbinic laws. No, Paul declares that Jesus is creating in himself a new humanity. This is Museo and Starbucks joining together, bringing their cultures together to form something new and beautiful. The Jews and Gentiles were invited to step into a new existence where they trusted that they could experience peace in their relationship with God and peace between one another. They were invited to experience salvation together as a new humanity. The normal signifiers that indicated who was in and who was out, they were not abolished. They were just reimagined. Before, it was the circumcised who were in and the uncircumcised who were out. But now, this new humanity has room for all and room for their incorporate their own culture into the new family. We don't have time to dive into all the ways that this played itself out in the early church, but we know that the early followers of Jesus wrestled to sort out what it means to be family when they bring with them a range of traditions and religious beliefs. What gets grafted into this new humanity? What gets left behind? That wasn't always straightforward, but what became clear is that inclusion in this new family hinged on only one qualifier. Do you trust Jesus? And will you follow his way of living? First, we need to recognize that removing barriers is often a journey of releasing power. Christ is our ultimate example of the way that love dismantles hostility and division. And our unity with God and with each other was accomplished by his death and resurrection. His example of laying down power for the sake of others is our guide. So imagine how hard this must have been for the Jewish people. They were constantly under the thumb of other empires, and their distinct culture was in many ways their only version of holding on to power. And now they're being asked to lay that down and receive people from other cultures into their family. So how will we lay down our power in order to create greater unity? One thing that can help is listening to the voices of those in the margins. Listen to the voices of the young and the elderly. Listen to the voices of people who do not represent the majority of our community. Listen to people from other cultures, other backgrounds, other walks of life. Obviously, for the Jews and the Gentiles, this was a significant experience of overcoming barriers of race and nationality. And the issues of racial and cultural differences is obviously a massive issue that impacts our unity. It is a conversation that we are having and we must continue to pay attention to. But it's not the only area that can cause division. Imagine. How would you feel if someone in our community from our church was running for some sort of political office and they represented a political party you do not agree with? Or how would you feel if someone in your home church expressed beliefs about hell that you don't agree with? How would you feel if someone from our church posted something on social media about abortion or women's rights that you don't agree with? What happens when we come upon people within our church who have a different understanding of peace and violence than ourselves? What if we see things differently when it comes to our ideas of sexual ethics? What if we come upon others who express a view on marriage or divorce that we disagree with? How do we respond if we feel like the church isn't taking the Bible seriously enough? You might be thinking, whoa, those are deeply theological issues. But you don't think the questions the early church was sorting out were theological? There were massive theological issues to be sorted out. The question was, were they going to approach those issues from a posture of division and hostility or love and unity? So what is our response like when we face these kinds of differences? Are we quick to draw dividing lines? Do we desire to remove others from our lives or from our community? Or are we tempted to just dip out? See, this is the exact opposite instinct that Jesus is trying to cultivate in us. We're called to tear down dividing lines, not draw up new ones. Does this mean that our theological convictions don't matter? Of course not. It simply means that we must first learn to embrace and receive one another as brothers and sisters through Jesus Christ, and then we sort things out as family.
But if you were like many of us, you probably still have the odd person in your life that you either speak to in person or talk to on the phone, or you see them post something that makes you have this almost visceral reaction where you just need to point out to them just how wrong they are. Well, this is where our practice for today comes in. While we were talking about how to wage peace, one of you lovely folks shared a resource that I found really fascinating, and I'm going to walk us through it. There's these 3 practices for crossing the difference divide, and here they are. First one is to be unusually interested in others, in their thoughts and feelings and opinions that differ from yours. The second one is to sit in the room with difference, to get cozy, to grab a blanket, to pour yourself a cup of coffee, to get to know those who are different than you, to build a relationship with them and to be intentional about it. Not just sticking to the conversations where you know you'll be able to agree, but to be able to be willing to lean in to the complicated topics and to not run away and to not fight back, but to just understand. And the third one is stop comparing your best with other people's worst. It's simply not fair. You do not have an entire backstory from one Facebook comment on a news article. So give them the benefit of the doubt. And don't assume that your best can be compared with their worst.